Hey, it's Doug from the Rise Above Gym channel, and are you looking for ways to get a little bit lower and deeper into the squat? Well, I have some tips and tricks for you that'll help you out. Let's check it out. Now, first of all, why would you want a deeper squat? Isn't parallel enough? In most cases, maybe, yeah, for functionality, getting up out of a chair or the bathroom or even athletic purposes. But I'm going to say you're probably more athletic if you can get into more ranges of motion. Now, not necessarily loading them up with a bunch of weight, but being able to move your body through bigger ranges of motion will make you more athletic because you have those ranges where you can move and you're not limited as much. Also, as we age, we tend to lose range of motion and lose functionality. So we want to try to maintain as much range of motion through various joints and make sure our fascia can move around, our muscles can move around, so we remain healthy, and also we have the ability to do the things that we like to do for a lot longer. Also, if you have aches and pains like low back, I had a lot of low back things, and I noticed my hip mobility, i.e. the squat depth, was not great. Once I started incorporating low squats, just sitting in a squat while I was doing reading or just kind of warming up before my workouts, my low back pain went away. It was just mostly tightness. The hip muscles get very tight because the muscles that connect to the hips are very strong and they're constantly pulling the hips in a lot of different directions. And if we don't use it, we'll lose it. So, I wasn't getting into low squats, whether it was through exercise or just during the day when I'm sitting in a chair and you're only getting about 90. So those are the reasons why you probably want to practice an unweighted deep squat, and I'll show you some ways to add weight to it down the road. But first, let's start with some mobility drills. When most people think about squatting deeper, they just get into a squat and do it, but they forget about the other joints around the hips. The most important one will probably be the ankle. Now, I have a video on ankle mobility. You can check it out up here. That goes a little bit more in depth, and I actually call it, is it the most important joint in the body? Like I said, I'll link it up there for you guys. But let's start with the ankle. Ankle mobility is important because as we get lower in the squat, we're going to have to glide forward in the ankle. Now, if we stop, we're not going to be able to get lower, or we'll have to compensate by rounding our back. So if I get to here and my ankle stop, I'll have to round my back, and it's not really functional that way. So we want to start with some ankle mobility. A great easy way to do it for most people is just finding an elevated platform, and all I'm going to do is glide forward. This floor is not level. And glide forward and back. So I'm using my hands for a little bit of leverage, and I'm trying to keep my heel down and get that knee over the toe. Yes, knee over the toe without pain, of course. So that would be kind of the basic way to do it. You can do it a bunch of other ways. Let me move this out of the way. You can do the classic way with, going up against a wall and then pushing forward. So you can do a bent knee version. You can do a straight leg version as well. That's a good way to do it. Also, you can get low and push forward and back. And then eventually you can get into the squat and do it, which I'll show you later. Okay, so now that we got the ankles good, we're going to get into the hips, hip mobility. Now, these mobility drills can be done before your workout. It can be done in between sets or just, in the morning, whenever you want to do them. You don't need to do a lot of them. Just be consistent with them, especially the ones that you feel like you're getting the most benefit out of. You don't do all of them. And that will help you progress in the squat and many other exercises as well. So one that I like, very simple, is a rock back. So I'm going to bring my foot out flat, chest up. So I'm going to get a little stretch in that junction of the hip. And I'm going to rock back until I feel some resistance. And then rock forward until I feel some resistance. And then hopefully, as I move along, I'm able to get more. You'll probably find that one way is a little bit more challenging. For me, it's the forward back. I'm pretty good. Forward, I start to feel it here, and I got to push a little bit more out of it. So that's a good one to do on both sides. You can even add, like I just did there. So when I get here, I can add a little bit of rotation, add some rotation and back. So whatever you want to do to kind of get that joint flossed and open. The next one we'll do is going to be hip rotation, one of my absolute favorites. So I'm going to be on all fours. I'm going to tuck my tailbone and I'm going to extend back. Now when I extend back, I'm not going to lose that tuck. I'm going to keep that tuck. Now this is the important part. I'm going to rotate without losing that tuck as much as I can and then sweep through. So back without losing the tuck, rotate and keep that sweep. Then I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go out, which is more challenging for me. Rotate and sweep through. Now you want to do these slowly so you can feel where there's resistance and then gradually move through that resistance. If I'm just here and I'm going fast, I don't know, my consistency is not good with my movement, and I also don't know my new ranges of motion. But when I go back here and I start to rotate, I'm feeling I'm getting a little stuck, so I'm going to slowly see if I can work through that. A little bit more stuck there, slowly work to see if I can get through that and get through it and gain some new ranges of motion. Lastly, we're going to do some internal rotation of the hip. Most people have trouble bringing their knees inward with the hip. Out is a little bit easier. So I'm going to sit, chest up, and I like to do this in isolation. Some people like to do alternating, but I like to do this in isolation. I'm going to drop my hip inward. I'm going to try to keep this right foot stable and back, and I'm going to open up, just isolating that left leg here, dropping inward and opening up. And again, all I'm really doing is loosening up the joints of the hip, so hopefully that'll increase my squat depth when I'm ready for that. One more mobility will be hip frogger. So what I'm going to do is widen my base a little bit here. I'm going to turn my feet out. I'm going to have my chest up and I'm going to push back. This is better with a mat on my knees. My knees aren't feeling great right now, but I'll finish up here. And all I want to do is pulse back and forth, keeping my low back flat and opening up my hips this way. If you have knee issues, you can turn your feet in. Like if you have a little meniscus thing or something, it is okay. You may have to widen out a little bit more and rock back and forward. Getting that rotation this way though will help open up the hips outward more and help open that up. But again, don't sacrifice that and hurt your knee in other ways, and then your squat won't be good anyway. So find ranges of motion and positions that are good and comfortable for you, and just gradually add little things to help improve them going forward. So after we've added the mobility drills, which you can do daily, sprinkle those in within your workout, we're going to add the next component to it, and it's going to be a little bit more focus on a little more tension, breathing, and movement, I call it. So we can add a little tension by adding a little band tension to one of the previous exercises we did. We're going to do that hip rotation. I'm going to put it just above my knee. I'm going to have this knee up. I'm going to be kind of in a half kneeling squat stance. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull forward and then control back and open my hip. Pull forward and open up. So I'm having tension here. I'm not letting it fly back. I'm controlling it, and I'm thinking about opening up this angle here to help open up my hip so I can sit a little deeper. So that's one you can do there. Now also you can just use your body weight. So we're going to get into a squat. Now let's say when I start my squat, I'm only up to here. I'm going to try to put my hands in here, and I'm just going to try to pry, get a little tension. I can maybe get a little lower, get my elbows in there, pry open. I can move my feet a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm adding tension. I'm moving by shifting back and forth. And then I'm going to add the breathing. So when I get stuck, I'm just going to breathe in. And then relax and sink. Breathe in. Relax and sink. And now what I'm going to do is start getting my chest up. So I'm going to breathe in. Sink and get my chest up. Breathe in. Sink a little lower one more time. So adding that movement, tension, and breathing will help get you to new levels of mobility within that movement. Lastly, now that you have those things done, you got your mobility, you got your breathing, movement, and a little bit of tension down, you can start adding weight. Now, one of the easiest ways to do it is by not loading the spine, using a kettlebell, or you can use a dumbbell or even a weight plate, but I'll use a kettlebell. And the weight is just gonna help me pull myself down more. As I'm heavier, it's gonna help bring me to the floor. So I'm gonna bring this in a goblet position. I'll get here, kind of sink, maybe shift around. I'm still adding that breathing, movement, and tension. And then I'll sink a little bit more. Move around, rotate around. Now I don't wanna go super heavy with this because if I do too much and it gets me out of position, I can hurt my back or even my knees. So I want to make sure I'm ready for something like this. And you know, kettlebell is a pretty safe thing because it's not on my back necessarily. And I can't really go super heavy with this, but I'm just gonna move around, breathe. I can push against the bell to get my chest up, and that will help me get a little bit lower in the squat. Now you can also do barbell squats when you feel ready for them. I tend to do barbell squats, and now that I'm getting a little bit older, I don't go super heavy anymore. But what I like to do is some pause squats with lighter weight. So this is, you know, just under 100 pounds, 95 pounds. But I'll do a lot of pause squats with tension. That's the key. When I get to the bottom, I don't relax, I'm gonna do tension. So I'm gonna get under the bar, and this will help my squat depth. So I'll get my squat stance, and I'll, you know, get all the setup here, and I'll pull myself down. And then when I'm here, I'm gonna pause with tension, breathe. And then come back up, and then I'd probably do 3 to 5 repetitions that way. Not only am I getting squat depth, but I'm also getting time under tension, which has helped strengthening my muscles and my joints without having me go super heavy weights anymore. And I feel much better doing it that way because I'm getting more mobility. I'm also getting that time under tension, so I'm getting the muscle building and the muscle strength. And I don't need to beat myself up by lifting heavy and doing those things. So those are my tips and tricks for you for helping get a deeper squat. My back actually feels really good right now doing that, so I hope you incorporate that in. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. If you have any future video ideas, again, put it down in the comments below. I want to thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe. I try to put a new video out every week. Thanks again, and let's get your squat in shape.